What's up everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm in a little bit of a different background, although I still have my plants, so it wouldn't be an Ariana video without one. It's not one of my best though, but we're gonna deal with it anyways. But today I wanted to film a video on my March photography pickups, so let's get right into it. So there are a few items that I picked up that are more directly photography and camera gear related, and then a few items that I wanted to touch upon that are somewhat related but I think will be of interest to a lot of my subscribers. So the first is an item that I actually made 2 videos on already, and I think most of you who do watch my channel more consistently can guess what that is, and that is my Olympus OM mount to Fuji XF mount adapter. And this actually has my Olympus 28mm vintage lens on here. So like I said, I've made 2 videos on this already. One of them is an intro video of how I set up my camera to basically be able to shoot with a vintage lens, and then the second video is actually one of my more traditional hiking videos, but most of the images in that video are taken with my Olympus fully manual vintage lens. So I'm really excited about those 2 videos. Be sure to check them out below if you have not already. I picked up this adapter for about $14 on Amazon, which is such an amazing deal for what it opens up opportunity wise to allow you to do with your Fuji X mount camera. So I definitely recommend it. I think it's very much worth the $14 to $15. The one thing I will say is, obviously, because it is so inexpensive, you're not going to be getting much out of it. It's not a speed booster. It doesn't have any kind of electronic connections. All it's going to offer you is the ability to hold your Olympus OM mount camera to your Fuji XF body. They also offer various different adapters as well. You can find them. I have the brand called Fotasi, and they had a bunch of other options as well. The next camera related accessory that I picked up is actually a flash. So I had been holding off picking up a flash for a very long time because I shoot primarily I shoot everything outdoors in natural lighting, but I've actually gotten a few inquiries to shoot 2 weddings in the next few months coming up, and the one next weekend is actually fully indoors. So I finally took this as an opportunity to invest in a flash. This is the Godox TT350O, which means it's compatible with my Olympus camera and allows me to shoot in TTL or fully auto mode. I've tested it so far. It's a great flash, but again, I haven't really used it extensively because I'm not really a flash type of person, but I am excited to use this and see how those images turn out. So those are my 2 items that were more directly photography related, but there are a handful of items that I've gotten as well that I wanted to talk about, like I said at the beginning of this video. So the first is actually refills of the Fujifilm Instax mini film. My boyfriend actually gifted me the Instax mini printer back during Christmas because I had been contemplating getting a Polaroid camera for quite a long time, but I didn't want to actually carry around a secondary body. This is a really great option for those people who want to print any photo directly from their phone, which means that you don't have to take the image itself on a Polaroid camera. So what I actually like using this for is to document my hikes, and I picked this guy up from Amazon, but I've since then ordered directly from their site, and it is a letterfolk journal, and this one is called Another Hike in the Books, part of their passport collection. And I wanted to pick this one up because on each spread there's a page that you can just journal about the hike in itself, the distance, the time, how you felt during it, weather and stuff. And then on the other side there's actually a blank dotted journal page. I actually saw on the Amazon page that they had it where people were putting their Polaroids in it. So I ended up getting the Instax Mini and using it as a way to document the hikes, like I said, and just printing one of the images that I take on each hike. My dog is sliding down my lap. Okay, here we go. Hope, can you say hi? Okay. So next I wanted to talk in general about my little post-production workflow for photography. And for those people who are not familiar with photography who have come to my channel, there are basically two parts of my workflow, and most photographers in general. But the first is the process of taking the actual photo. So that's going to involve your camera, your lens, lighting, like the flash, anything like that that is going to affect how you actually take the photo. Then there's the post-production workflow. So for this, there's a bunch of different components that I consider as post-production, including editing, file transfers, file storage, both short-term and long-term, as well as just any tools involved for that, both software and hardware. Basically, there are quite a few items that I actually picked up this month to support my post-production workflow. So the first is an external SSD. So I've been using an external SSD for quite a while. Previous to using external SSDs, I had a very trusty external spinning hard drive, and since then I have upgraded to an SSD, both because of speed and also stability. I get very nervous about traveling with a spinning hard drive because I'm always nervous that something will get shaken and one of the components will get loose or break or something like that. So I've since upgraded to an external SSD instead, or a solid state drive. I personally really like the SanDisk Extreme portable SSDs. They're a great price point, they work well, they're fast. I've had no issues with them so far. One thing to keep in note when getting any kind of external drives that I tend to think about is simply what size you want. And the reason why I actually go for the 500 instead of the 1 terabyte, which is going to give you double the storage and it is more cost effective, is because I'm always nervous that if a drive breaks, losing 500 gigs of storage is much better than losing 1 terabyte worth of content that you have created. So I personally like to purchase them in smaller chunks, even though it's going to cost you a few dollars extra in the long run. So the next thing is my big purchase of the month, and I'm so excited about this. When it comes to post-production, in the past, I've not done too much. But as I have started shooting raw files for clients and paid shoots, I've needed a much more robust workflow for any kind of editing, as well as storage and just an entire post-production workflow instead of just wirelessly transferring photos onto my phone and then editing in like Visco or something. So in the past, I have owned a MacBook, and when that slowed down, I decided instead of purchasing another full-on laptop of any sort, I would use an iPad as my primary personal device. I have a MacBook for work, but I don't use it for anything personal. But I wanted something that was very portable that I could carry with that MacBook in case I was ever traveling for work. I decided to go for an iPad because it made much more sense for me to carry around one MacBook and one iPad when traveling for work versus two MacBooks. It was just too much and not worth the cost. And so I ended up getting the iPad Air 3. And since then, I have definitely developed my photography workflow, and because of that, I needed to invest in a full-on Mac OS system instead of just an iOS system. And that's primarily the reason why I ended up getting the Mac Mini. It was cost effective, it was powerful for the price that you were paying, it was a good desktop system, and it supported Mac OS, which is going to be much more robust in terms of any applications you can run on it, as well as the file system. So now that things are starting to open back up again and I am doing more shoots, I have realized that I do need to upgrade my mobile post-production device. So the iPad Air 3 is great. The only thing that it is lacking is the connectivity options. Because it is a Lightning port instead of a USB-C port, which the newer iPads are, the Lightning port has very limited options to connect external devices. And even with like the option to connect Lightning to SD card, I've read very mixed reviews on whether that really works after iOS 13 or whether it's just a good workflow in general, on top of the fact that I know these specific SanDisk SSDs do not work on the iPad Air 3. From a power issue perspective, I decided that this was something that I did need to upgrade this month, as I do have events and trips and stuff coming up in the future where I'm not going to have desktop access. I wanted to make sure I had a mobile device that could support the post-production workflow almost as well as my desktop could. What I ended up doing was actually simply just upgrading from the iPad Air 3 to the iPad Air 4. My previous iPad Air 3 is being shipped off to my sister. I dropped it off at the post office this morning, and she's going to really enjoy that. So like I said, this is the iPad Air 4. I currently have just a regular case on it from Amazon. The reason why I didn't get a Magic Keyboard quite yet is because I don't need it, nor did I really use the keyboard that much on my previous iPad. I also have my pretty background from when I visited my sister, which was shot on medium format film, so I'm super proud of this picture. I'm excited about that. And then of course, since the first generation Apple Pencil was not compatible with this new iPad, I had to get the second generation as well, and now I have the full setup, so I'm very excited about that. The adapters, so like I said, with the ability of connecting USB-C, I can better support connecting the iPad directly to either my external SSD and or my SD card, so that I can either edit with the SSD / move any of my files onto the SSD as my backup solution, and also pull directly from my SD card off my camera instead of having to import it onto my desktop, airdrop it. So it's a very different workflow from what I had with my previous iPad, although the actual act of editing is still very similar. But again, in my point of view, that's such a small part of the post-production workflow. I do plan on making a video of my new workflow from very beginning to very end. Because I only got it now, it's hard to say my long-term review on it and my long-term thoughts, but I'm definitely going to be playing around with it, so look out for content on that. And also let me know if that's something you don't want to see because you've got your own system down, or I'm getting too much into gear and less on photography. So that's all I've got in terms of photography related purchases for March. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up down below. And if you enjoyed content like this as well as other photography content, please be sure to subscribe to my channel, again, also down below, for future videos, and check out my old ones that I have made. If you guys have used any of these products, you own them, you hate them, you love them, let me know. I would love to hear any feedback, advice, tips for me as I dive into these products and start using them. Please let me know any of the feedback down below, as well as specific video requests you guys have or want to see, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.